Because people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
As we talked about where a lot of opportunities are going, they're going to automation, software, they're going to computers and artificial intelligence. So your value is the power of your mind, creativity, imagination, strategy.
Welcome back, Kwik Brain. And your question for today, how do you remember things better? If you are in our community, you probably know the power of having an exceptional memory, and that memory is not something you have, it's something that you actually do, that there's no such thing as a good or bad memory, but there is a trained memory and an untrained memory. So you're going to like this tip, regardless of your age, your background, your education level, your gender, your history, your IQ. This one little tip, brain hack, if you will sensitize you and build some awareness to help to elevate your and improve your memory. So we've talked about many principles to having a better memory. We talk about imagination. We talk about association. We talk about organization. We talk about attention. And that's a lot of alliteration with the shows. I want to talk about one more, and that's your intention. Your intention. What is your intention for learning? What is your intention for remembering? You know, we are bombarded with an avalanche of information, right? Each and every day. And it is overwhelming, right? And you must intend to remember something if you are going to remember something. It's as simple as that. If you forgot a name, now, by the way, say yes if this is you. Have you forgotten a name recently? Have you forgotten where you parked your car? Have you misplaced things that you use every single day, like the remote control or maybe your phone? Have you ever lost your train of thought? Have you ever forgot what someone just said, like maybe something I just said, right? And there's a quote from my mentor. His name is Dr. Stephen Covey. Many of you have read his book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. He said, most people do not listen with the intention to understand. Most people listen with the intention to reply. So they're not really understanding because their intention is they're thinking about how they're going to respond. And one of his habits was seek first to understand, then to be understood. Because people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And that's why your intention matters. People could feel your intention. Now, how are we defining intention? Well, in Latin, intentus is your aim. It is your purpose. Right? It can be defined as a thing that you intended, an aim, a plan. The power of intention is really the power of a focused, dedicated mind. And intention is a great starting point. You know, it's a starting point for every goal, having the intention of every dream that you have. It is the creative power that fulfills our needs, you know, whether it happens to be love or in relationships, health, money or wealth, right? Think about it. Everything happens in life began with an intention, some kind of intention. When you decided to buy that gift, if you decide to wiggle your fingers, if you decide to text a friend, if you want to remember someone's name, it all starts with the intention of doing so, right? Wayne Dyer says, our intention creates our reality. Think about that. Our intention creates our reality, right? I know Oprah has talked the power of intention also as well, that she says, intention is one with cause and effect. And so intention, it determines our outcome, right? And she mentions in one of her quotes that if you're stuck moving forward, you have to check the thought and the action that has created your circumstances. So that's the power of intention. And so how do we learn? How do we live less out of habit and more through intention? And let's just think about that. When you're focusing your mental energy on something that, let's say, we're able to give more of our brain power to it. It's not magic at all, because there's a method behind the magic. It's our innate tool that we have. This is the power of the mind being placed in a position where you are planning, where you are preparing, where you need to be able to perform at optimal levels, right? And so intention isn't a do it once and forget about it. It's not that kind of thing. It's this continuous, consistent use of the mind in a focused manner. And when you cultivate this state and use it, you can get what you want in life easier, right? A lot of people don't remember names. Let's talk about memory, because they don't have an intention for remembering that name. Do you really have a set intention to remember what you read? Do you set intentions when you're learning something or listening to somebody to really understand it from their point of view, to really focus, to really organize the information, to be able to, do you intend to use it in the future also as well? So like, even if we made an intention, right? So desire is one thing. You could desire something and have an interest in something. Intention, I would say, is a level above that. It's where you take that feeling and you're making a commitment. That's something that's going to lead to a decision. If you had an intention to remember someone's name and you truly decided, right? You've heard the word decision. It's like incision, to cutting off from any other possibility. You're burning the bridges that you're going to do it, right? So it's like you have this intention to be able to stop doing something. Maybe you want to stop doing something like eating that junk food, or you want to stop smoking, right? That is your intention. But you can make that transformation without claiming that intention. And so for me, when we're thinking about cultivating this state of intention, there are 3 clear steps, right? So you could write this down, or you'll probably easily remember this. Number 1 is you have to decide what you want, and that's in your head, right? You have to decide what you want. This now, by the way, when you're, by definition, the power of intention, you need to know what your goal is, right? When you're thinking about intention, the aim, is the goal, the dream. So you set that intention. If you don't know this, you're never going to be able to utilize your power, because clarity gives you power, right? The very easy phrase to remember is, I commit myself to this. I commit myself to remembering people's names. I commit myself to remembering where I parked the car. That could be your intention. Most people just park, they're mindless, right? They park their car, or they go on autopilot. They're not thinking about things, or they're at home and you put something somewhere, but there's no intention behind remembering where that thing is, right? Because they're not mindful. And I'm going to do a specific episode on mindfulness. So the first step is get in your head. Right? What do you want? And what do you want with clarity? And so what's your intention around learning and your intention around life, right? The second thing I would say is, from head, you go into your heart. All right. This is really your why. You have to get clear on your why. Now that you know what you want, why do you want it? What is it going to give you? Because reasons reap results. Reasons reap results. And honestly, reasons reap rewards also as well, because a lot of people know what to do here in their head, but they don't do it with their hands, which is the third part, because they're not connected with their heart, the emotion, the energy of motion, right? So you set the intention in your head, right? You feel it in your heart in terms of why you must do it, right? Simon Sinek has a great book called Start With Why. And then finally, the third stage really is your hands, head, heart, hands. And that's where you work for it, right? And once you know what you want and why you want it, that serves as a great foundation. It's very attractive, but you can't have the law of attraction without the law of action, right? Even you can see the word action in the word attraction, right? So you can't even make the word attraction without the word action. Literally, the last 6 letters of attraction is the word what? Action, right? And so that gets to your hands. And so what is your intention in your head? and then feel the intention in your heart in terms of why you want it. And then be very intentional with your hands, meaning the method you're going to take place, right? Because your intention, it's almost a guiding principle of how you want to be, on how you want to learn, on how you want to live, on how you want to show up in the world, right? And I think that's really the goal, is you imagine your intention. Imagine remembering the things that you want to remember. Those languages, something you just read, something where something that you're placing somewhere, you want to be able to recall it, so you don't lose it. Something that you want to say, like maybe you have a thought, but you don't want to lose this thought, but you're also listening to somebody else. So imagine your intention, and what do? You see it, you feel it, and then you work daily for it. Now, if you're watching this on video, if you're not, you could see, I recommend you watch this on YouTube. You can certainly listen to it on iTunes and Spotify, but watch some of it. We need to be able to see, and it helps us to be able to focus. And some of you who are listening learn better through watching also as well. So there are few pursuits more important than living an intentional life. My friend Deepak Chopra, who we're going to have back on the podcast, he talks about intentions compressed into words, enfold magical power. And you and your memories, your growth, are the greatest project you're ever going to get to work on. So take time, create time, make magic. If you want more, my team put together some resources for you, and they're absolutely free. Just go to jimkwik.com/more, MORE. There you can get a 1-hour introduction masterclass on speed reading. If you have an intention of reading faster and remembering what you read and having better focus, go there. I also give you 3 training videos on how to remember people's names and a lot more. Just go to jimkwik.com/more. And that's really the goal. Live with intention. I'll give you one last quote. I talk about Jim Carrey in our book Limitless, and he talks about intention, and it's our intention. Our intention is everything, he says. Nothing happens on this planet without it. Not one single thing has ever been accomplished without intention. So live, learn less out of habit and more out of your intent. This is your brain coach, Jim Kwik. I look forward to seeing you in our next episode. Take care, my friends.
Welcome to this week's Kwik Brain Challenge. This is your #Kwik Challenge, and let's do this. This week, today, is all about challenging your memory. I mean, tell me about your forgetfulness. Do you feel absent-minded, like senior moments are coming way too early, or you read a page in a book, get to the end, and what? You forget what you just read. Or you get somebody's name, what happens? You forget their name. Memory is a multiplier. When you have a trained memory, you could do remarkable things in your health, in your career, in your relationships, and so much more. So the key, just like the entire series of this Kwik Challenge, is about doing little things every single day to build your brain power. Little things become a lot, right? Because consistency compounds. So what I want you to do before we get started is I want you to do a quick refresher. If you haven't and you want to really do this the correct way, I want you to re-listen to episodes 3, 5, 8, and 11. Again, episodes 3, 5, 8, and 11 are core foundations of the Kwik brain process, right? In order to have what I call quicker recall. Now, some of you have gone through our 10+ week memory masterclass, and that's extraordinary. You'll be able to do this in your sleep. If you're new to memory training, I would refer back to these podcasts, or feel free to go to kwiklearning.com, kwiklearning.com, and look at some of the advanced trainings that we provide. Now, again, when you're looking at these previous episodes, we've done episodes specifically on using your body as a mental filing system. We did the 10 keys for optimizing your brain. I showed you how to memorize those in another episode, like how to give a speech without notes. Sound familiar? We also did that episode that I referred to, that I recommend you going back to, on how to remember difficult information in fun ways, and I tricked you into memorizing the periodic table. So if you're not familiar with those methods, what we talked about the power of chain linking. We talked about the power of using your body, kinesthetic awareness and filing systems. We also use the power of creating a memory palace where I take you through my office and delineate 10 places and I teach you how to store the 10 keys for giving a speech without notes. Now you have to listen to those episodes because here's your challenge. Your challenge is this. We know there's no such thing as a good or bad memory. There is no such thing. There's only a trained memory and an untrained memory. There's no such thing as a good or bad memory, just a trained memory and an untrained memory. Regardless of your age, your background, your career, your education level, your financial situation, your gender, your IQ, your personal history, none of that matters. What matters is if you're training it. So what I'm gonna ask you to do every day this week is I'm gonna ask you to have somebody test your memory, challenge your memory. Again, we're doing this quick challenge because with challenge leads to change. And ultimately that's what you want, right? And we're gonna increase your mental fitness, your memory fitness by testing and challenging and providing stimulus. So I'm gonna ask you to get well rehearsed with those previous episodes, the chain linking or the body training or the episode we did on the memory palace around your office, around your home. And I'm gonna ask you to ask a friend or a family member or a coworker to give you 10 random words. Keep them simple, kind of like objects. So they would say, okay, number 1 is coffee. Number 2 is rainbow. Number 3 is bicycle. Number 4 is bonsai tree. Whatever it is, have them give you 10 words, and I want you to either use your body list or the chain linking that we did for the periodic table or your home list, the memory palace if you will, to memorize those words forwards and backwards. Now remember what we're doing here is we talked about where a lot of opportunities are going. They're going to automation, software, they're going to computers and artificial intelligence, and they're being outsourced. So your value is the power of your mind. Right? That's what they're not going to be easily be able to duplicate or to farm out, if you will. The power of the mind, I'm going to talk about 3 superpowers. We talk about creativity, imagination, strategy, using one or more of these memory devices from those episodes I referenced, and we'll put them in the show notes at jimkwik.com/notes. That's jimkwik.com/notes. The highlights of this, you could always go to refer to the challenges there and also the notes. Even if you don't re-listen to the whole episode, go look at my notes from those episodes. So even if you don't want to spend the 10 minutes, which I think you should listen to, because the review and the repetition is very powerful for learning and memory, spaced repetition. But even if you don't do that, what I want you to do is test yourself. Have a friend or family member give you 10 random words, and I want you to use one of those 3 techniques or tools, or maybe if you're already a graduate of our online programs, you have a lot to choose from, and test your memory. And you don't expect to get this perfectly. If you're just starting out, you're not supposed to get this perfect. What you're looking for is progress, because that's what it is. Practice makes progress. Little by little, little becomes a lot, like all the challenges. So what I want you to do is videotape, if you're bold, your friend or family member doing this and post it if you're willing to, or take a picture of the list of those words and say how many you got right. Tag at Jim Kwik, at Kwik Learning. We'll repost some of our favorites also as well, and make sure you hashtag Kwik Challenge, KWIK Challenge. And as always, as part of this to celebrate, we are also gonna randomly pick some of our favorites, and we're gonna gift Amazon gift cards and some of our favorite books from previous guests of our podcast. Some of those books, you notice that if you're getting them and you're being the recipient, some of those books are actually signed also as well. So that's to make learning fun, because learning doesn't have to be dull and boring. You could challenge yourself, and there's a level of excitement and really an opportunity for you to step up. Because again, where in life do you need to be able to step up? You're training the difficult things so that way the other areas of your life become easier. Because how you do anything is how you do everything. Welcome back, Kwik Brain. Your question for today is, this is a very important topic that we get in our private Facebook group, and many of you are part of it in our app.
is this question is how do you reduce brain fog? How do you reduce mental fatigue? How do you up your level of executive function? And especially now in these turbulent times. And we're shooting this kind of impromptu. This is a very special episode at the Biohacking Conference. And many of you asked for resources, not only for tools and techniques, but resources to help. What do I use, Jim? What did you use to help focus and have mental alertness and to be creative when you were writing your book, or for example? And you see this kind of Star Trek device here. This is one of my kind of, people say, a secret weapon, if you will, that I used when I was writing actually a good half of the book. And so I have a very special guest. This is Rowena Gates, and we've been longtime friends, and I appreciate you taking time from you here presenting. We're both here presenting at the Biohacking Conference, and I wanted to capture this with the team to help bring this resource to you. And we're going to talk about some quick tips on how to reduce brain fog, mental fatigue, and how to up-level your executive function so you can win more today. And so thanks for being on the show.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah. And so, my friends, my clients have always recommending your NanoView technology. And you have your PhD, you are one of the principals at NE3, which is amazing. And you've been in this industry working with technology and performance for a long, you have stories.
A long time.
And so I love this because, it's kind of, I talk about superheroes a lot, and two of my favorite superheroes are Batman and Iron Man. They don't have any inherent superpowers. They haven't been bit by a radioactive spider or anything, but they have technology that allows them to level up their learning, their life, to really show up. And I want to talk about this technology in a little bit, but because you've been in the performance space, you speak at all of these amazing performance conferences that we're at right now. If you're watching this on YouTube, which I highly recommend, so you can see the unit I'm talking about. I believe genius leaves clues, and there's certain things that you and I have talked about that can help with brain fog, mental fatigue, up-level our executive function. So what are some of your top tips? And then I want to get to talk about your amazing technology.
So there's two areas that I look at, and one is the long-term prevention of damage. So you're in top form when you sit down and have to concentrate for long periods of time.
Yeah.
And those are making sure you have an appropriate antioxidant regime, not too much, not too little. And then the obvious ones, exercise and sleep, that are all things that help your brain clear out the bad stuff and feed the good stuff into the brain so it's really ready to go. So those are the optimizing performance things that help with the whole body, especially important for the brain.
And what's the damage? Like how do people experience, when we talk about oxidative stress, I think people have a sense of, how would you describe it?
Well, that's when the damage outweighs the ability of your body to prevent it, basically. So it accumulates. And the brain burns about 20% of your oxygen, and it's about 2% of your weight or something like that.
Yeah.
So you're really burning a lot of oxygen, so you have a lot of oxidation there, and that can lead to more oxidative stress.
Okay.
And you have oxidative stress when you start to get brain fog, lack of performance, lack of clarity, and so on.
Yeah, and this is a topic I think that is pretty rampant. I think people, whether they're working from home or living at work and their children in and out, we're having these aversive effects on performance. And so what is it? Do people just take antioxidants, or what do you recommend?
It's that whole lifestyle, to optimize that side of it. And it depends on their diet. So everybody's so individual that it's hard to make a broad statement, but it is worth paying attention to and making sure that you've got the good stuff in there. You're not exposed to bad things that cause oxidative stress, any bad chemicals, too much sunlight, and
environmental toxins.
Yeah, environmental toxicities, all of that. And so that's the long-term piece. That's just kind of setting yourself up for a good result. And then in the short term, there are some techniques that brain science has come up with, and I know you use to some extent, but one is the technique where you set a timer for 20 or 25 minutes, what's appropriate for you, and then you get up, you move around, and you don't think about what you were concentrating on.
Yeah.
And for executives, it's so easy to sit down and realize a whole hour or even 2 hours have gone by. staring at the screen without moving and without giving your brain a chance to catch up.
And also giving your eyes time to rest.
Exactly.
You know, there's this a digital fatigue where we're on screens all the time, or we're on Zoom, and visual fatigue can lead to mental fatigue.
Exactly. And so the visual part is something on the short term you can also do to just close your eyes for a few minutes or roll them in your head. Or another one that's really valuable, obviously, is breath work. And literally, it doesn't have to take that long, but closing your eyes, resetting your breath, give your body a chance to kind of reset, process what you've been working on with your brain, and then clear things out and move forward. And in the long run, you're much farther ahead than if you just kept hammering at it. Meanwhile, you're creating the oxidative stress that we don't want.
And that's the thing. It's just not only what's attainable, but what's sustainable over time.
Right.
Right. Anybody could have a burst of focus or energy and work hard past the threshold, but then you create, this negative loop where it creates more adverse effects. And so you're working and studying with students and people of all ages and stages for about 25, 30 minutes, the Pomodoro technique, before we start having more of that. We have these cognitive demands, right? Mm-hmm. And then our focus or concentration goes down. So you take a break, like a brain break, and you're moving. You're especially moving your eyes, which I love, because we're training we're looking at our devices like this. So we're at this distance, and if you're watching this hopefully on YouTube or one of our social channels, but it's not getting the flexibility, right? It's not looking off into distance, and you're also giving I want to really emphasize and highlight something you said. You're not thinking about what you were doing at that time, right? You have this full view vision, where you're very focused and alert, but then you need to give your brain a little time to rest, to be able to divergent thinking, to be able to free flow, to integrate what you just learned.
Exactly. And if without that, it doesn't have the chance to shuffle things around, store them appropriately, and make them available when you need them,
Yes.
which could be a very creative process, if you're lucky.
Right. And so during your brain break, you're moving your body, you're moving your eyes. Hopefully you're physically moving because, we're sitting behind screens all the time, which can be a big challenge. You're also breathing because a lot of people, when they're sitting at their desk or they're studying, their diaphragm is collapsed and they're not getting oxygen. As you mentioned, your brain is approximately 2% of your body mass, but it's an energy hog. It uses 20% of the nutrients and the oxygen. You could hydrate, obviously. Some people are just dehydrated, and that'll make them mentally slow, as well. And so those are very powerful, simple things that people could do that make a huge difference in terms of your return and the rewards that you need to get through the day.
Yeah, and also the long-term benefit to your brain.
Yeah.
You want to keep up on that oxidative damage because you don't want anything accumulating long-term in an aging process.
Mm-hmm.
And oxidative stress kind of is the aging process because if we didn't have that, there's no reason that most of the cells in our bodies would get old.
Yeah.
You're constantly being damaged, and you want to keep it healthy.
And a lot of us, we need, we're at a conference on longevity and performance. People, they're always reaching, they're always stretching, but they're not stabilizing, right? You can reach, but you need to also recover from that also as well, whether it's your athletic, your physical body or your mind. Now, I know a lot of people are watching this, and they've seen some of pictures of me on social media where I have this device, this technology. It's sitting on my desk when I'm writing. My dog is always there by my side. For some reason, he likes to use this also as well. But people who are looking at this might be a little confused. How would you describe this to someone who's just listening to this? What do they see?
So you're seeing a box about the size of a printer with a long arm coming out of it. Mm-hmm. At the end is a tube that you can breathe from, and there's bubbling water on top of the device.
That has color.
It has color that's decorative.
Okay.
And then inside the device, there's all the magic happens in terms of the excitation of the water droplets that are going through the tube and inhaled.
Right. And I bring this up to everybody because people ask me, Jim, what are some of the tools you're using to be able to have that extra edge, right? Where I feel like if I'm not using certain tools, I'm not the highest version of myself, right? And so this is called a nanobeam.
Yes.
Okay. And so what I'm doing with it is I'm setting a certain amount of time and I either have this or I have some kind of attachment to it that allows me to breathe, and it's very passive, and that's why I love it. I could be doing other things. I could be reading, I could be writing, right? And what is when I'm using it, it feels like I don't have that mental fatigue as easy. I don't suffer from the brain fog, and my executive function is extremely sharp. And I can tell you that I probably wrote half of Limitless with this on. And so tell me some of the science behind it, because our audience likes to geek out over it.
Yeah.
Like, how does it yield those results?
Well, I have to say first, it's so funny because Dave Asprey said the same thing with his Headstrong book, that it was what let him stay up and get it done years ago. But the science behind it, we're drawing on other areas of science, including water science, biology, and biophysics. And what we're doing is emitting a specific wavelength inside the device that can be transferred through the water. And when it hits the water, which is the mucous membrane in your nose or lungs, once it hits the water environment in the body, it's transferred throughout the body, and it's initiating what's called the exclusion zone or ordered water in the cells. And the reason we do that is because all proteins, everything in the cell is immersed in water. And that water is actually a source of energy for the proteins to fold. They have to fold or they don't function.
Right.
The protein folding, and then we simply improve the whole environment for them. We kind of re-energize the water that lets the proteins do what they know to do. So we don't want to override anything.
Right.
It just, your body knows what to do. It's just giving it a little extra support.
Good.
And we're giving the body a little extra oxidative stress generally with our lifestyles.
Yeah.
So that supports kind of,
I see the tool and how popular it is here at this longevity performance biohacking conference. And I think, when I'm talking to people about it who've been using it I've been using it personally for years, they report the same kind of results. And people want to see diagrams and even video of how this actually works. We set up a site for you, and they put together a special offer for our audience. And I want to thank you for that, because some people ask all the time. Again, like, Jim, I eat your green foods you recommend. We do your sleep protocol, but I want some more. I want to get from I've gone from here to here. What are those things? Those kind of secret weapons that allow you to tools or technology to be able to enhance our physiology and our immune system. So that's pretty remarkable, and it just looks. I can't tell you how many clients we have that we've recommended this to, but they also see this and they just want to know what it, because it's very unique looking.
Yeah, it's a little bit. It's interesting. It's a very unique technology. There's absolutely nothing like it, and
it's you've done all kinds of patents on this technology.
Yeah, and the studies on it, and it's interesting because on acute EEG you could see inappropriate brain activity diminish in a stressed executive, which is exactly what we've been talking about, and you can see before and after.
And about what's the average usage in terms of maybe minutes?
Well, on this device it's about 15 or 20 minutes, but you and I would use it more, right?
Right, and especially depending on the load that we have.
Yeah.
In terms of the cognitive load, and a lot of people are suffering from decision fatigue, and those are costly mistakes and errors. And so whether in this conversation, whether it happens to be knowing your limit in terms of how much time you're spending studying and working, 25, 30 minutes, taking a brain break, using that time to move not only your body, but your visual apparatus, be able to look in different directions, get some indirect sunlight, breathing, which is very fundamental, and it's sometimes it's interesting just to get a reminder of what you're doing when you're doing it really, really well. And if you also like to go deeper, I recommend you look at these different models, and maybe there's one that could be supportive for you, your team, and your family also as well. A number of clients I know, and even podcast guests, have raved about this technology also as well. So I want to thank you for making this available to the world, make it available to our community also as well. So wherever you are watching this, you take a screenshot and tag, Ing3 Corp, and tag myself, and let us know your thoughts about how you overcome burnout, mental fatigue, brain fog, how do you improve executive function. I'll share some of my favorites as always. And we will actually send a copy of my book just to some people, just as thank you for participating. And so thank you again for making this available, taking time out of your busy schedule to be on your show.
Such a pleasure. Thank you. Nice to be here.
Hi, Kwik Brain, it's your brain coach. I want to thank you so much for watching this video. 3 things to do. Number 1, make sure you share this, because when you teach something, you get to learn it twice. Update your learning so you can update other people's learning as well. Number 2, make sure you subscribe to this channel so you don't miss a thing, because if you miss a video, you miss a lot. And finally, make sure you hit that bell so you're notified and you find out when we put out the latest and the greatest. One extra thing, if you want really close attention, then text me. Here is my phone number, 310-299-9362. Did you remember that number? 310-299-9362. Shoot me a text and we'll stay in touch. Ask me your burning question. And I wish your days be full of lots of life, lots of love, lots of laughter, and always lots of learning. I'll see you in our next video.